There are some cases, right? We use the subqueries, right? So it is not that all the time whatever the join condition use it. You have to use the alternative to the join condition is not always subqueries. Okay, so I have demonstrated, right, when to use subqueries. Supposing you want to do some kind of filtering, the classic example is the average, right? So I wanted to know which all employees are getting more than the average salary of all the employees. If you hard code the average, I just show you here once again. Hard coding is not the best practice, isn't it? So that's the reason why what we do is this is what. If I take the average salary of the employee, it gives me 2628. If I hard code it here, select star from emp where salary is greater than the average salary. This is what we needed, right? But we cannot hard code it. It is not the best practice to hard code it, right? Try to. There are occasions, yes, if there is a real issue, or if there is a requirement, if dictates you to hard code it, or testing purpose, you can hard code it and test it. Try to avoid hard coding. Okay, so but here, right, so instead of this, why we are not supposed to hard code in this case? Because later point in time, if more employee gets joined in the company, right, so in that case obviously though the newly joined employees salary will vary, right, as the employees new joined employees salary varies, right, obviously that the average will also vary. So let's say you started a company with 50 employees 2 years back. Now you have 10,000 employees, 50 employees, and now you have 10,000 employees. Obviously the salary will be different now, right, because different levels of employees are there, because of the variation in salary. Obviously when you take the average, it will not be same as this one, right? And if you hard code it, what will happen? It will show the wrong answer. So rather what you do is, so I wanted to find out those employees are getting salary more than the average salary of my all the employees. So in this case, what will happen is you are putting one more query here. So greater than instead of this one, right? So this one, how you get it? If you execute this query, you will get it. Instead of hard coding this one, I am going to use this one. Later point it at me, right? So even if you 10,000 or 1 lakh employees gets get joined in your company, this query will work dynamically. You don't have to do average again. You don't have to replace this one with this value, some other value. So that kind of situation also, the subquery is very much helpful. Subquery will get executed only once. The output of this one will drive the outer query. That is what we discussed. What other thing that we discussed? We discussed the all function, right? Multi-row subqueries, those things we just we discussed it. And also here I have uploaded a lot of lab exercises and demos also. You can download each and every all these zip files and start practice these zip files, right? One for example, if you click on this and if you download this one, if you open this, you will find this script. First what you do is select the .sql view file. If you give this, it will show you the basic queries, right? So here this kind of queries you will get stuck, right? So how do I leave space between two columns? Here I want to concatenate or combine these two columns, but while combining it, I need to make sure there is a blank space between these two columns. How do I do that, right? So you just execute this one and then practice it, you will learn it. Okay, instead of using comma, right? So in this case what we have done, we have used comma in between these two columns. When you combine these two columns to understand, right, which column comes from which data, so what you do is you can use comma here, right? Instead of using comma here, and we use semicolon here, right? So it depends on your requirement. If they want a semicolon or comma, or if they need a space, don't give anything here, leave space in between, right? Simply you delete it. You simply delete it. it is not in editable mode. Yeah, here you don't specify anything. Okay, remove the colon, so that for both these columns, right, in between that blank value will be there. I want you all to start practice this. Okay, and look here, null and expressions, look here, the case function is also available. This is also very much helpful. Try each and everything, and wherever you get stuck, you just make a note and you let me know. I will help you out on that. Okay, I don't want to rush, and at the same time make sure that, right, so it is more than, right, sometimes you think, Satya, I don't need, can we have a session later point in time or this weekend, because I need some time to practice it is good, rather than rushing and completing it, right? And if you don't practice it, you will not, you are not supposed to forget it. For example, I taught you what is except function, and what is the join, left outer join, right outer join, all those things, right? You are not supposed to say, right, no, I forgot it, right? So that is very much important. So those are the things are very much helpful in the real time scenario. Okay, so in today's session, I think most of them are busy. Let us go ahead and continue with the whatever we discuss. We discussed about the the subqueries and correlated subqueries, and also we understood the difference between the correlated and the non-correlated subqueries, and also we have seen the what else we have seen it. Yeah, those are the things we have seen it. So today we will continue with the important topics like how to create a function, and what is a transaction, what is a transaction from the database point of view. All those things we'll take a look at it. And before that, just a quick recap. So I was discussing about the batches, right? Batches are set of commands sent to SQL Server as a unit. Batches determine variable scope, name, resolution. Okay, to prepare statements into batches, you need to write like this: select star from go. You need to give go. That means these two queries will be sent together to the SQL engine at the behind the scene. Okay, so these two queries will, instead of sending one query, send these two queries in bulk to the SQL engine, so that it will get processed in a matter of seconds. Otherwise, what will happen is, we are working in the client server environment, right? So when it comes to the SQL server, right, you have a client. See, in our case, what is the client? SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. On the server, it is not there in your local system. See, for learning purpose, we have installed SQL Server, the Express. You remember Express SQL Server, and we installed client SSMS. Both of them are there in our laptop. In real-time scenario, the server will not be there in your laptop. Remember this. This is there in your customer side, American side. Right, so nowadays they are using Azure SQL database. It is a cloud-based one. There is not much difference. Okay, cloud, and don't panic if I say cloud. So it is there somewhere else, but this is not there in your laptop. They will give you the server name. That's it, server name, port number. With that you can connect it. Right. So at this moment, ignore this. Okay. So right. So the client. So what happens is, when you send the these two queries in a bulk, so you are sending it from your system to the cloud, right? So network traffic here. If you send these two queries separately, what will happen? Let's say you are firing, like you, 100 users are there, 100 people are there like you. 100 people, if they send the query one after another, what will happen? It will cause too much of network bandwidth. So in that case, what we do is, that is one reason. Okay, instead of sending one query, can cause severe network bandwidth issues. And apart from this, logically we want to group them, right? So I want to group these two things together, and I want to send them together. In that case, this is the one is very much helpful. Just give me a second here. I'm giving that. Hello. 1B, first floor. ஒரு நிமிஷம் இருங்க, ஒரு நிமிஷம். ஐ வில் கம் தேர். இன்னும் இல்லை, மேலே வந்துடுறீங்களா? ஃபஸ்ட் ஃப்ளோருக்கு 1B வந்துட்டிங்களாங்க? Now we will look at the conditional branching, the if else, right? So we have something called if else. So there are occasions we need to implement the business logic using some if and else conditions, right? So if and else is very much helpful, used on which we can perform some kind of operation. If the condition is true, do something, otherwise do something else, something like that. Okay, so for example, I just go to my this one, and let me just one second. So I say if salary at sal is null. So what is null? Null is nothing but a blank value. For example, if I add 5 plus null, what will happen? So you need to analyze and practice it. Okay, click on this one. What will happen? 5 plus null, incorrect syntax plus near, right? So it is not going to give you anything, right? So let me just put it like this. Go and press F5. Incorrect syntax plus. So, and if I say null plus, you cannot do anything, right? You cannot add null with anything else, or if you cannot, if you do it like this, it will throw an error. So null is something like a blank value. Okay, you cannot do anything, any arithmetic operation with that, for example. But you can compare whether this variable has blank value in it or not, right? So here what I am going to do is I am going to say select star from emp. Before that, the first step is make sure that always you are selecting the database, because I have a lot of databases here, right? AdventureWorks, LT, DW, like so many databases. Which database employee table is there? You need to tell the SQL server. The first step, always make sure that you are selecting the database. Okay, and then give go. Go is just something like a batch. It's not a SQL command or something like that. This is to make sure that logically splitting our code. See, if I remove go and if I give 100 lines of code, if I write it, if I don't give any break in between, right, it will get confused. So if you give go, oh, this is one batch, this is one batch, this is to for example, in the case of payroll, we wanted to make sure that this code, this set of code block, it does the helpful to compute the gross salary, and this set of code block tells me helps me to find out the right. So this set of code blocks are helpful to find out the net salary. So gross salary, net salary, if you want to compute it, put it in a different batches, go, right, different go, right? So okay, the next one is if else, right? So how do we specify else? If the salary is null, then you select everything from the employee. Else, just a simple condition. Okay, this doesn't make any sense, but for you people to understand how to use the if else, right, I'm using this one where for example, where salary, we have something called salary column, right? Salary is equivalent to let's say I'm going to select this one, select star from M, press F5, and this one will get executed. Or either you select this one, for example, select star from M and click on execute. So here you can see salary, right, 800, something like that. Here what I do is I just give at I'm going to say at sal, right? So at sal, if I give like this, what will happen? Sal1. So you can give any name for this variable. This is the variable. Okay, so here I just give something like sal1 and sal1. Okay, where sal1, if I execute this, and what will happen is scalar variable at must declare the variable sal1. So we need to declare the variable. So how do you declare the variable? Now I will show you how to declare the variable. For example, declare at sal1. This is your let's say decimal 10,3, something like that. Okay, And the next one is, so this is how I'm going to use it. Okay, here what I'm going to do is, I'll help you out to understand it. Don't worry. Okay, look here. So it gives me everything, right? It gives me sal1. So now I just want to, so in this case what happens is, if sal1 is null, in this variable I did not assign any value here, right? Okay, first of all, let us understand what is a variable. What is a variable? As the name suggests, it takes any value. So here in this case the variable name is sal1. In SQL Server, we define the variable by prefixing it by at symbol, at followed by variable name you need to give. You can give any name, okay, at sal1. I have given sal1, you can give whatever name. But if you want to define a variable, you need to prefix it by at symbol. Now, declare. So, to define a variable, you need to use this statement. This is your reserved word. This is a keyword, okay? And so followed by declare, you need to use at symbol. Followed by the at symbol, you need to specify the variable. And followed by this, you need to specify the data type. In this case, salary is a decimal data type, right? So I'm going to say it's a decimal. And followed by this, I have given semicolon, something like that. Here for the variable sal1, I did not assign any value. For example, I can, in the case of declaration statement, this is called your declaration statement. This is called your declaration, the variable declaration statement. Here itself we can assign some value also. For this variable, I'm going to assign 800. It's something like this value will go and get stored in this variable. Now if I execute this, what will happen? So here, right? So only one employee's salary is 800, right? So here what happens is, the sal1 holds the value 800. See, this 800 gets, listen very carefully, don't get distracted, okay? This 800 gets stored in this variable. Now the, in the if condition it comes here, second line it comes here, at sal is null. No, it is not null, right? The at sal1 has the value 800, it is not null. So hence what happens is, this condition fails. This is a condition, okay? If the condition is not true, in this case it is not true, isn't it? Shweta and Aruna, are you able to understand? This is very important, okay? So don't get distracted as I told right now, okay? Sal1 is null, right? So in this case, this is a condition here. If the salary, or I can use greater than also, right? So if salary is greater than 500, greater than 5,000, something like that, okay? So in that case, what will happen is, if I give execute what, 800 is not greater than 5,000, right? Hence the condition will fail. What if the condition fails? The control will come to else part, and then whatever statement that you mentioned the else, that one will get executed. So if the condition fails, what will happen? If the condition is true, for example, if the condition is true 800, if I specify 800 here, this condition is true, isn't it? Shweta, can you confirm it? What is sal1? Sal1 is having the value 800. It is something like, right, this is Shweta. I gave Shweta 800 rupees. In Shweta is having 800. Shweta is nothing but 800 here. 800 equal to 800. Hence the condition is true. This statement will get executed. Only when the condition is true, this statement will get executed. If the condition is not true, then you branch it here and then execute it. So why do I have to use if-else condition? So in the real life scenario, everything is not, we don't go by a single business rule. For example, the simple example, if an employee takes a leave, not all the employees taking leave, isn't it? Shweta, you agree with me or not? Not all the employees are taking leave. Supposing one person, let's say 5% in my company, they are taking leave. I need to, already we have given them paid leave. Now I need to deduct loss of pay. Right, so in that case, if loss of pay, right, so leave, right, leave taken. For example, leave taken, you have a variable called leave taken. For example, I just show you this one. Leave taken is a variable, right? So leave taken is a column that is there in your database. Okay, leave taken is 5 days, or it's 10 days. So in that case, what happens? People are eligible for paid leave 5 days. Those employees have taken leave more than 5 days, then we have to deduct the loss of pay. So in that case, what will happen is, if the employee leave taken is, so in this case the leave taken is greater than 5, you do this, deduct the deduct, yeah, again you need to compute the per day what is his salary, and 5 days into 5, how many numbers taken, he is taken leave 5 days, right, and 5 days into per day salary, and you need to deduct it from that, right. So you will have to write 2 lines of code here, 2 or 3 lines of statement. This I call this statement. If the condition is true, do this one, and if the condition is not true, okay, if the person has taken more than 5 days, then you deduct that condition, you put it here. Else, right, some other employees, they did not even take leave, so then don't deduct anything, something like that. So in real life scenario, the if else conditions will be using it, because not all the people, all the employees are same, right. Some employees, they would have taken leave and they would have exhausted their leave, right. So in that case, right, if else is very much important. So you will be simple payroll system, we will be checking all the conditions, right. So or else I'll write the same thing here, right, instead of using this one, right, all sal1 or some leave taken, instead of sal1 I say leave taken, right. So leave taken, use some if leave taken is, I'm going to say blank here at not leave taken. Listen very carefully, and leave taken is greater than 5 days, then, right, so what you need to do is, here you have something like you have some something like salaries there, right. What we will do is select salary minus something like that, let's 500 rupees, right, from EMP, where again you need to specify which employee, not all the employees, right. So those employees have taken leave, you need to specify this one, where leave taken, or in the query itself we can write it. So if else, how do we use it? Anyhow, I will give you some other exercise, you can work on that. So let us go by this example now. First you need to define the variable. So in order to define the variable, you need to use the reserved word called declare. Followed by this, you need to use @ symbol. Followed by this, you need to define the variable name, and you need to specify the data type. The next step is, leave taken is greater than 5, execute query, or else do this one, right. So here what I do is, salary is great, greater than 5, or else what I'm doing is, salary is greater than. So what I'm going to do is, if I select start from emp, and where salary is less than something like that, right, so we'll put something like that, less than of 1000, something like that. So here the business logic, the rule is not correct. Just for you to understand how to define, you can do it. So for example, if I execute this one, look here. So these two employees salaries are less than 1000, right. These two employees salaries are, you need to look at only this column. One second, let me open this one, so that you'll be able to, I can highlight it. So this is how we need to define the variable. So now we understood the idea of defining the variable, right. If the 1 second please. Fine, now you understood how to define a variable. Anyhow, we will work out on another example, so that you will be able to understand very clearly. So the variable, we are using it here. So in fact, how we need to use it here, right? Okay, I will say for the time being, I'll make it sal1. Salary is, for example, 800. If sal1 is greater than 800, so here 800 here what is there? 800 is there, right? Because I assign the 800 to this variable here itself. At the time of declaring the variable 800 here, at the time of declaring the variable, right? So 800, at the time of declaring the variable, here itself I assign the value 800 to it. So this sal1 is something like a container. This one is something like a vessel, right? You put 800 into this one. So now the container SAL1 already it has 800 in it. 800 is greater than 800? No, right? 800 is equivalent to 800. It is not greater than 800. The condition fails. Hence the control comes here. And the next step is here. So what I am going to do is I am going to put this in here at sal1. I am going to say sal1 here, right? So here what I am going to do is I am going to say salary is greater than sal1. So what will happen here? Those employees, salary is more than 800, you print it. In this case it will fail, isn't it? Look here, you just check the salary. All the employees' salaries are more than 800, right? So this at sal1, I just put it. Instead of putting 800 here, hard coding it here, I just use this variable. Hard coding is not the best practice, right? So that's the reason we use some variable. So it is also called it as a parameterization. Some people they call it a parameterization, okay? So they call it as parameterization or something like parameterization. I don't know how to write this one. Let me just check this one. It is not working. Okay. So anyhow, let us not rely on the tool. So this is called parameter. I will just put it like this. Parameters. Here is the comments, right? So parameterization. So always remember this. You are going to use the variables or parameters instead of doing hard coding. Hard coding is not the best practice. Okay. So hard coded means this is what? Madhavi, so this is what hard coded. You put the number directly here, right? You're not supposed to put the number, So instead of at sal1, I can put 800, right? This is hard coding. Good that you asked, right? So this is very basic thing, fundamental thing in programming. So hard coding. So Madhavi asked this question, what is hard coding, right? This is a very, very basic thing. Anyhow, no problem. Good that you asked, right? So you are not supposed to put directly like this. Instead, you are supposed to use some variable. When I explain you about the stored procedure, you will be able to understand the importance of the parameterization. All right? So don't worry. So this is how you need to declare the variables. So variables, what are variables? Variables are objects. It allows us to, allow storage of a value for use later in the same batch. Right, here we have stored the value and then we can use it. So here instead of storing it here, right, we can use it, you can assign it later also, right? You can use it here also. For example, at sal1 equal to 800 also you can put it here. Here also you can assign it. Anyhow, I'm not going to complicate that one. Let us start with simple thing. Okay, so variables are defined with the declare keyword. So it has to be declared. Variables has to be declared and it has to be initialized in the same statement. So we need to declare the variable by specifying the variable name followed by specific data type, and you can assign some value here, or you don't have to assign some value, but here ideally you need to declare the initialize the value also here to this one. These variables, right, are always local to this batch. For example, I just put go here and I'm going to define another declare and other conditional if conditions. Okay, so what are the variable I defined it that cannot be used in other thing. Okay, so this variable is available within this batch. What do you mean by batch? Anything you have written just above the go, right, that is your batch. The scope of that variable ends year itself. So this scope of the variable, so it's at sal1 ends year itself. Supposing you wanted to see what value stored in at sal1, right? So you can use print function. For example, you can use print at sal1. So now it is greater than 800, right? Yeah, it comes here. Since this condition is, no, 800 is not greater than 800. The condition, it is not printing it here. Look here, you need to go to the messages and see it here. When you go to the message, it shows 800. So what is this? What value got stored in this variable? If you wanted to see it, use a print function. Print at sal1, 800 got stored. For example, you wanted to multiply this by 10. And if you want to execute this one, you go and see it, right? So 800 into 10, 8000, right? Print statement will help you to do some kind of debugging everything. Okay, so in the real time scenario, we'll be using a lot of variables. In this case, I have used only one variable. In real time scenario, we'll be using more than one variable. So how do I use more than one variable? For example, I'm going to use another variable called let's say here we don't have much variables. I'm going to say something like manager, right? So manager at manager, so is a varchar data type, right? So manager is a varchar character data type. So I'm going to use, so 10 is equivalent to, so let's say manager is, or let's say job. I'm going to say job 1. The variable name is job 1. Okay, I'm interested in viewing only job 1. Here I'm going to say manager, manager. So manager, how many letters are there? So 2, 4, 6, 7, isn't it? And if you wanted to see that also, right? So what value stored in that one, right, at job 1, and how do I use that? In this case, I'm going to use that one. So where salary is greater than sal1, and so can I use and, or can I use this one and, right? And so what is the column here? Manager column, MGR. In the database, we have a column by the name of MGR on the left side. Right hand side only you need to use, sorry, not this one. In the database, we have a column by the name of job. So here it is a single ampersand. Job is equivalent to at job 1. At job 1. So now can someone tell me what is going to happen here? Syntax near line 22. Line 22 has some problem here. Okay, let me just do here. And here and you need to use it, not that ampersand. Line 17, sal1, and okay, here job 1 manager and job equal to job 1, where salary is equivalent to, or let me do one thing, I'll use or here, and I say go here. Go is already there. I just remove these two things because I changed the variable name, right? That's why it is getting confused. Look here, now it is working fine. So why it was throwing an error? Look here. Here I have used print job 1, right? So you need to remove this one better, and for the time being we can remove it, because of which somewhere it got messed up. And just so now tell me what is happening here. Can I unmute you guys? Can someone tell me? Radha, why don't you volunteer? Radha, I allow participant. Yeah, you can, why don't you talk now, Radha? Are you there? She is not there, it seems. Or anybody else can volunteer. What is happening here? What is happening here? Very simple statement. Since you people are completely new into programming, I am just slowing down. So declare two variables I declared. I declare two variables here, right? What variable? Salary 1, and assign the value to salary 1. So that means, right, this one will get stored inside of this one, and I have declared another variable, and this variable gets stored inside of this one, right? So next what happens is, here I am just checking if this salary 1 is greater than 800. It is not greater than 800, hence the condition fails. The control will come to else part. It will come here, select star from emp where salary is greater than sal 1. Here also the condition is wrong, right? One second. Here the salary is greater than at sal 1. So salary, it is true only, right? So more than 800 salary is there, right? We have more than 800 salary. Select the employees salary that are more than 800, or I have given or here, job equal to at job 1, manager. See these guys, right? These guys, though they are not managers, their salary is more than 800. Since I've used or condition, either this condition should be true or this condition should be true. Whenever you use or, right, it will work for both. So it will select the employee's salary more than 800, right, irrespective of the job, whether he's a manager or not. Blindly it selects everything, right, all the employee salary. Instead of putting or here, if I put and, what will happen? So this is very much important, that's why I'm telling you. So fine, now if I execute it, what is going to happen? Look here, if I want both these conditions to be true, only when these two conditions to be true, then you select the employees. Okay, select all the employees, those falling into these two categories. Those employees salaries more than 800, and also they are supposed to be a manager. And condition means this condition should be true and this condition should be true. Only these two conditions are true, it will retrieve the data. That is the basic difference you need to understand. Okay, so that is the basic difference, you should be knowing it. And the next one is or. If I put or, what is going to happen? If I put or, see we have a logical operator, and or. So logical we can say booleans, right? So we have something called boolean data, logical data types, right? So logical data types like true or false, true comma false. So here it will say true, false. These are the boolean data type, false, right? So which function that we use it, which operator that we use it to, and, true, and, or, right? These are the things that we use it, right? Operator, and, or. So this is very important. And, not, we have something called not, right? So these are the functions that we use it. So let's see, your manager is asking you, hey, I want to see all the employees name, I want to see all the managers salaries more than 800, right? The salary is more than 800, but also they are supposed to be manager, right? And condition you are supposed to, both conditions should be true, only then your query will retrieve the data. In this case, when you use and, supposing you don't have, for example, I mistakenly specify manager 1, do we have any value in this table as manager 1 in this column? No, right? So it will not work. So in that case, what will happen if I specify manager? Look here, if I specify manager 1, what will happen is, job 1, still it works, manager 1, right? It is not supposed to work. One second, let me just 2 4 6 8, right? I need to specify, yeah, since look here, what happens, very tricky one. Look here, so how many letters are there here? 2 4 6 7, right? Though I put one more value here, it simply ignored this one because it can hold only 7 letters, right? So now look here, the trick is, if I put 8 here, you need to analyze. Analytical thinking is very much important. Okay, look here, it is not working, but when I put here 7, still it is working, right? because it takes into account of till manager, the one it is removing it, because it doesn't have storage. Okay, it doesn't have memory to store one more value, right? So it can store only the 7 letters, M, A, N, A, G, or 7. So to store one more letter or the digit or letter in the memory, it doesn't have space, hence simply truncated this one. If I put 8 here, because we have 8 letters here, if I put 8 here, what happens? This condition is true. See, first of all, it will execute this block of code or this batch line by line. SQL Server, what it does is it executes this batch line by line. First it assigns the value, all the things it does. Second, when it comes to this line, okay, when it comes to this line, it understands this is a comment. I'm not supposed to execute it. Simply ignore that. Okay, it ignores that. When it comes to this line, it checks the condition. Sal1 already we stored 800. So here you put 800. 800 is greater than 800? No. Condition fails. Hence the control comes here. Select star from emp where salary is greater than, select all the employees whose salary is more than 800. Here I can put at sal1. Okay. And see, there is a difference between this and this. Don't get confused with this one. Okay. So here you just put 800 now. So salary is greater than, yes, there are employees whose salary is more than 800. It is there in my data set. And also they are supposed to be manager, right? So but here in the table we don't have, in the job column we don't have value like manager 1, hence it fails. So this condition should be true and this condition should be true when it comes to AND. Please remember this, right? So there is something like a rule, something like this. We call this a truth table. Condition 1 and condition 2, right? So here what it says is, if condition 1 is true and condition 2 is also true, only then this query will return values. Here this condition 1 is true, but here this condition is not true. Why it is not true? Can someone, Aruna, why don't you volunteer? Aruna or Radha, why don't you volunteer? Why it is not true here in this condition, in this case? Or Deepak, why don't you open up? So unless you both, we both talk, you will not be able to, learn it. End of the day, you will say, right? Tell me. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, in this we have there is like a manager one in the segment where we have given as manager one, but in table we have data as manager.
Excellent, right? In the
So
table, I'll just show you. I'll just for the sake of Shweta, select star from M, right? So in this table, we are using a column called job, right? In the condition, we want those people, those employees or manager only, we need to filter it, right? So in the job 1, what value is there? Manager 1 is there. Instead of manager, manager 1 is there. So hence, whether manager, does manager is equal to manager 1? No, right? The condition fails. In this case, the condition fails. So for the AND condition, whenever you use AND, I just show you this one. See, whenever you use AND condition, right? So both the condition, this condition and this condition should return true. In this case, it is true. It is not true here. Why it is not true, Shweta? She explained it, right? So here in the table we have manager value is there. We don't have anything like manager 1. So you just substitute this one here. So in the job, see, this is the job column, right? In the job column we have manager, whereas in the job 1 we have manager 1. We are comparing manager equal to manager 1. It is not equal, right? Manager is not equal to manager 1. Hence this condition fails. So what is the rule? Both the conditions should be true. Only then this query will return value. Since this condition is not true, it fails. It is not returning any value. Okay. I execute it one more time. Please concentrate here. Don't get distracted. Okay. That is one of the success factor to attend any training program. Look here, it is because this condition fails. Okay, what I am going to do is I am going to select from here to here. I am going to ignore this part. It is nothing but I removed this one. Will it work? Yes, it will work. Up to this condition it is true, right? Salary, because the employers, there are employees, they are getting more than 800 salary, more than 800 salary. The condition is true here. But when I put one more condition, say my manager says, right, hey, more than 800, I don't want all the employees, right, those are getting more than 800. I wanted to know the employees salary should be more than 800, and also they are supposed to be manager. So you need to put one more condition. But here you have used and, because his requirement is like this. Salary should be more than 800 as well as their job is manager, as well as this is and here. When you put and, this condition fails. For example, if I give the proper thing manager, what will happen? It will work. So what will happen? The employees are getting more than 800 salary. In our data set we have it. And also the job manager, 3 people are manager, right? It will select only the manager related data. Look here. See, beyond this, we are not supposed to do hard coding. For that purpose only, we have included the variable here. Right? So now you might be asking, sir, why can't I put 800? Why can't I put manager here instead of using some variable, right? Sal1, job1. Why should I put it? We are not supposed to put it. That's not a best practice. And also, I will explain you during the time of this one. When the stored procedure, okay, don't worry. So at this moment, hope all of you are able to understand the if condition. Along with this, explained you how to declare a variable, how to initialize a variable. What do you mean by initializing the variable? Assign a value to a variable, right? We assign the value to a variable, all the things we did it. And the next one is, this is what conditional branching. If else is conditional. You can write multiple if else. So now the question is, if the salary is greater than 800, yeah, this one already we assigned the value 800. 800 is not greater than 800. The condition fails. And again here I need to check. I need to write one more if. If the salary is greater than if the salary is equivalent to if the salary is at sal1, right? If salary at sal1 is equal to 800 and or right, if sal1 is equivalent to 800 or sal1 is let's say equivalent to some other value, you can write multiple conditions also. I don't want to overwhelm you with writing multiple if statements. For that only I put more exercise here. Look here in the Tsql lab 01, lab 10, all the files are there. Download this and you will find all the solution. The SQL query itself is there. You start practice it. But in order to work on these things, you need to install another database. I will explain you later. Okay. So at this moment, hope all of you are able to understand how to declare a variable, what is conditional branching, and we have something else called the looping. Okay, we have something called looping concept. Next one is looping. We are going to discuss about looping. So here also what I am going to do is I am going to use the same thing now, simply in the interest of time. I just simply reuse the same thing here, and I'm going to remove all these things. So if salary is greater than 100, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of using if condition, I'm going to use something called while. While I'm going to say I'm going to say job, right? So job, while job ID, some meaningful, right? Some, or CTRL1, something, control, right? So control CTRL, and is less than or equal to 3 or something like that. So while condition. So whenever you use while statement, you need to use begin. You have something called begin. and next one is my query. So what here I'm going to say select star from emp, where I'm going to say the here I'm going to say, okay, so this is a bit tricky one. What I'm going to do is, or else what I do is, in this case, right, so I'm going to use emp number itself, emp no1. So emp no1, and here where emp number is equivalent to at emp no1. Okay, so the next what I'm going to do is I'm going to put semicolon here, semicolon, and the next one is because here I did not specify emp no1, right, so that's why it is highlighting it there, as I'm going to say int. First you need to declare the variable correctly, and one as int, and next one is I'm going to say print I want to check what value is stored in that one. Okay, at anyhow I don't want to do, okay, anyhow we will do one thing, at emp no1 let me go and check what values are there in my select emp no from emp table, and I just say 736977. we don't have sequential value, right? Oh my god, so 7369 7698 7, we don't have continuous values are there. 7839 jumbled, 7902. Okay, order by. So what is order by? Why don't we talk continuously? Don't think very very rigid training. Okay, you just talk casually. What is the emp number here, right? So what is emp number? It's a numerical. What is order by? Order is sorting, right? I want to sort it in ascending order. 7369 after 69756 is coming here. What I do is, in the interest of you people, I'm going to say okay, select star from emp, seven three seven zero. I'll put one more employee. His name is let's Robert, and say job is like is analyst, something like that, analyst, and I say yes, manager ID is null. I don't want to insert any value for these columns, and hire date is also null. Let's assume that we don't owe anything, and let's I'm going to put his salary is 5,000, something like that, and next one is commission is null, and our commission I'll put 1,000, comma depart number is 30. I'm going to put this value. I'm going to close this one, and I'm going to say commit. So it will say commit instead of that commit transaction. Anyhow, it is not required here. We'll forget this. So I insert a record, additional record. So now if I select this query, what will happen? Look here, 7369730. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say as int is equivalent to 7360. So in that case, what will happen is this is equivalent to 7360. Okay, so I have declared a variable emp no1, with the data type of int, and then assign the value 7360. You can give whatever value. Here I have given some logically, right, 7360 something. Okay, 69, right, 7369. Okay, so start with the first employee. These two employee numbers are coming sequentially, one after another, right? After 16 is 70, isn't it? So that's the reason why I'm putting 79 here. EMP number 1 is less than or equal to, let's say, I'm going to say 7370. Okay, so in that case, these two employee number will get displayed here. So it loop it, and then so once that loop is over, it will come out of it. So here EMP number +1, incorrect syntax, line number 37. Look here, it shows us something wrong here. Okay, here at EMP NO1, correct only, right? So I just remove this one. Here first what will happen is the 7369, it will check, yes, 7369 is obviously less than 7370, and then it will come here, and then what will happen is here 7369 will get mapped here. Once so it will it will retrieve the record related to 7369, and then the control will come here, set command. In the set command, what I am doing is I am using the same thing, EMP NO1 plus equal to 1 I am giving here. What it is nothing but it is nothing but EMP NO1 plus 1. So in this case, so here it is at, right? You need to specify at. Without file, you need to specify here. So next one is end. You need to specify end. Whenever you specify start with begin, you need to end with end. Okay, and then you need to give semicolon in the case of while loop. So if I execute now, what will happen? So it shows 7369, two records, right? It is selecting two, 7369 and 7370. Two records it is fetching it. So it is looping it, iterating it. This is called iteration. If you want to display more than one employee, right? So I can use while loop. So in this case, what happened? Logically, I assign the value 7369. And 7369 is obviously less than 7370. It will come here, and employee number is equivalent to 7369. So select star from employee number is equivalent to 7369, right? Whatever the value you assign the variable will come here. Look here, 7369 record got fetched from the database, right, from the table. And next, in the next line, what happens is it increments this employee number value 7369 plus 1 7370. It increases the value now. So this value goes back here, and then it goes and checks one more time. This is called iteration. Okay, each time it iteration. See, only when the condition is true. In the case of while loop, this is called while loop. In the case of while loop, only when the condition is true, the body will get executed. So this is the body. Whatever you see here, this is the body. Okay, inside the begin end, whatever you write, this is your body. Only when the condition is true, this condition is true, this body will get executed, right? So obviously, right here 7369 value comes here. 7369 is less than this one. First time it fetches this one. Second time I am incrementing 7369 plus 1 is 7370, and automatically the control goes back to this condition. So 7370 is less than 730? No. But 7370 equivalent to 7370. Yes, it is true. So in that case, one more time it goes here, and on the right side you have 7370. It retrieves the second record also. Sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, in the case of while loop and for loop, while loop, these are common for almost all the programming languages. Why we use is iteratively go and select more than one record, or if you want to iterate multiple values in one go, right, you can write it. Simple example is, for example, I'll just show you one. For example, if I ask you to print let's at I'll start with a simple example, okay, at something like that, okay. Okay, I just go and print this. Let us see what happens. Here allow displays, right? So if I want to display allow once, it is printing it. So now what my manager is saying, hey, you need to print the hello 1000 times. So how will you print it? Can you copy paste this 100 times? For example, if you want to print it 2 times, I can paste it, right? So execute it, 2 times it prints. If you want this to be printed 100 times or 1000 times, will you copy paste 1000 times this one? No, right? That is where the while or for loops are very much helpful. In SQL Server, while is very much helpful. What we do is we are going to use some logic here. While CTR is less than or equal to, let's say 10 times, right? So 10 times I need to print this one. Begin, whenever you use begin, you need to specify end here. And the next one is what you need to do is here print at well, okay, and here what it is set at counter. Use something is counter plus equivalent to 1, okay, and that is what I need to specify. And here I'm going to because I'm using counter, one more variable counter in addition to well at well. So CTR as I'm going to say int, right? So initially I start with 1, okay, and what I do is now you see I don't see any underline. So now let us, if I execute it, what will happen? Look here, 10 times, right? So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 times. Okay, so in that case, right, what we will do is I'm going to say 9 here, okay? If I want to print hello 10 times, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, right? So how it works? So now one thing you need to remember very well. If I execute this one, it prints hello only one time. If your manager asking you to print hello 100, let's say 10,000 times, what will you do? Can you copy paste print at will 10,000 times? It is not going to work, right? So using while statement in simple 4 line, how many lines here? For 5 lines, right? 5 lines of code, you can print the allow how much ever time you want it, right? You can iterate it as many, you can print it as many time as you want it, but you need to whatever the condition you specify, based on the time, right? So here 9. So initially the counter I mentioned 1 is less than 9, okay, it is not, 1 is not equal to 9, but it is at least in these two things, right? Any one of them is true, right? The 1 is less than 9, correct, then print 1 time. Next time what you do is increment this counter as 2. So the moment when you increment it 2 here, the control will goes back here automatically. So 2 is less than 9, yes. 3 is less than 4 is, so 9 is less than 9, no, but 9 is equivalent to 9, right? Equal sign is also there. So 9 equal to 9, okay. So it goes start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 also, right? So 10 times, overall 10 times it prints it. Got it? So this is how, this is with this simple example, hope you are able to understand the advantage of while loop, right? So while loop, so you don't have to print 10,000 times. Supposing if I put 10,000 times here, what will happen? So 10,000 times it will print 1 lakh time. You want to print it, simple one command. Sorry, you need to use this one also. Look here, take a lot of 1 lakh I have given, right? It takes a lot of time. Look here, execute inquiry. Look here, in a matter of second, 1 lakh times it printed, right? This is the advantage of while loop, okay? So iteratively, you want to iterative, right? Multiple times you want to do some kind of thing, right? So in that kind of situation, the while loop is very much helpful. Let's say you, in your company, 5 lakh employees are working, and each and every employee you want to compute the net salary. So you can use while loop, right? And then in the while loop, what you are doing, right? So you before that you declare all the variables, leave taken, all the things, right? Conditions, all the conditions you will put it. Okay, and then for each and every employee, you just check whether this employee has taken leave. If he has taken leave, then you need to, and also you need to check whether he is eligible for paid leave. If he is not eligible for paid leave, then you need to calculate the loss of pay for the number of days whatever he has taken leave. And then so for each and every employee in simple 5-line code or 6 or 10-line code, 5 lakh employees net salary you can compute it, isn't it? It is that much helpful. So the while enables the code to execute in the loop. See, it enables this code to execute in this loop, right? It loop in the sense repeat the value statement, the while block. So this is the while block. These are the statements are there in the while block, especially this statement, right? This statement repeats as the predicate value is true. This is called your predicate or condition is true. As long as this condition is true, this one will get executed. But in the case of while loop, you need to use the incrementer here. So on the left side, you mentioned the incrementer here, you can use it. So when will the loop ends? The loop ends when this condition becomes true. For example, in here I mentioned 9 here, right? So when it comes to 9 here, 9 plus 1 is 10, right? So 10 is not less than 9, 10 is not equal to 9, hence the condition fails. The loop terminates. When the loop ends, when this condition becomes false. And also we have something called break statement. Execution, right? We can also specify break statement here. We can say you can use if condition. If if the salary is more than something like that, right? You can write one more condition. If the condition is so and so, break, exit the loop, something like that. You can use break statement also. Fine. At this moment, I am going to stop. This one. Next, we will jump into something else called the transactions. Transactions. We have something called transaction in not only in SQL Server, in almost all the we have something called begin transaction, end transaction. Okay. Rollback transaction, the commit transaction, like this. So first of all, what is a transaction? What is a transaction? So a transaction is a unit of program. See, this is one unit of program, right? So this is one transaction. This is one transaction, right? A transaction is a unit of program. It updates various data items and more about it. Okay. So the database system, what happens is it maintains the asset properties. You take any RDBMS, it maintains the asset properties. Asset properties. It maintains the asset properties. What is asset properties? What is asset stands for? A stands for atomicity, and C stands for consistency. I stands for isolation, and D stands for durability. So these are the basic thing. So suddenly if they ask you, right, see, when you go for a Power BI interview, they might ask you questions related to SQL Server, probably 5 to 10%. If they ask you this question, right, if you know the answer, you should be able to so then you are through, right? So they will be happy. Oh, she knows asset properties, very good. This asset properties are applicable to all the RDBMS. Most of the RDBMS, they follow the asset properties. So first of all, let's go one by one. What is atomicity? So this statement, right, this property, basically the atomicity makes sure that either you make all the transactions successful, or you fail all the transactions. What do you mean by that? I'll give you one banking example. Listen very carefully. So let's say you have in your account you have a balance of let's say Shweta has an account balance of $400 in her account. 400 rupees she has in her account. Okay, and And let's we have Aruna, right? So Aruna has 700 rupees in her account. Okay. Now Shweta transferring 100 rupees to Aruna. Okay. I call this as I call her as B. For example, Shweta is A, person A, and person B. She has 400 rupees in her account. Okay, what happens is she is transferring the money 100 rupees to Aruna, right? So here what is happening is there are two operations involved here, right? So 100 rupees has to be debited from whose account? Whose account? Can you all please type it in the chat window so that I can make sure that you are all engaged. If Shweta transfer 100 rupees to Aruna, how much money she will be having it? So, right, Shweta transferring 100 rupees. So, in that case, 100 rupees to be deducted from Shweta's account, right? Person A's account. And then, and then it has to be credited in, this money has to be added or credited into Aruna. Aruna balance should increase, Shweta balance should decrease. The moment you transfer the money, this is what, these two things should happen. What happens first, right? So Shweta, she transferred the money. But what happened, because Aruna's account has some problem. Let's say she has account in Axis Bank, like me, okay? So Shweta has an ICICI account. She transferred. Her transaction was successful. But whereas because of Aruna's Axis Bank, right, some problem happened. The server, the transaction got failed. In that case, what happened? Should happen is 100 rupees should not be deducted from Shweta, and 100 rupees should not be credited into Aruna mistakenly also, because the transaction got failed, right? Or let's say if the transaction fails, or from the Aruna side in the bank, right? So money will not get credited, obviously, but this money should not get debited from Shweta's account. This I call the transaction 1. This I call the transaction. This I call the transaction 2. Either both transactions should be successful, or both transactions should fail. If Aruna, the receiving bank, Axis Bank, in the case of Aruna's bank, right, if her bank server is down, Shweta, whatever the money debited from Shweta should credited back here, right? It should not become 300. So either both transactions should be successful, or both transactions should fail. Only then it will be consistent. That is called atomicity. All success or all failure, something like that, right? So that is what is called, Okay, so the next one is, we have something called consistency. So what is consistency? The consistency is nothing but the execution of the transaction to should take place in isolation. For example, Shweta, right, she is transferring the money to Aruna and other person, right? So Shweta she is transferring money to Aruna and let's say Madhavi, right? So the Madhavi, she is transferring the money. She is transferring her also 100, okay? And this Shweta is transferring money to, I just put it like 100 rupees to B, and she is also she is transferring 100 rupees to C. Two persons, right? She is now this is a different scenario, okay? Right? So in this case, there are two transactions. She is transferring money to this person. Another transaction, she is transferring the money. So in this case, right, we have something called isolation. I was talking about isolation, right? Isolation and consistency, right? I will explain one go. Okay. Whenever you transfer, whenever you perform two transaction or pair of transaction, one transaction should start execution only when the other finish it. So this one should get transferred only when this one gets completed successfully. Unless this one get transferred successfully, this one should not get transferred. Okay. So in this case, right, here, right, so this is what. So in this case, if both of them are if one only unless this one gets, completed, this transaction gets completed, right, this one should not get executed. So if, let's say, if both of their transaction runs concurrently, and 100, and for example, right, so for her B, Aruna, the Shweta balance should show 400, right, before transferring the money to her. So after transferring the money, it should show the balance should show 300. But if both of them happens in parallel, it should show 200, right, for her. So both of them happens, right, 200 it will show for her. Actually it's supposed to be 300, because first this one should get debited, and then only, she should be able to see 300, and then this 100 has to be debited from this 300, right? So both of them runs in parallel. For her it should not show 200, that is wrong, right? Sorry, for her it should not show, for her it should not show Shweta has only 200 rupees balance, it should not show. Since you run it simultaneously, that confusion can happen, right? So one after another, right? So that is what the consistency is all about, right? With isolation, hope you are able to understand the consistency also. And the durability, next one is durability. So what is durability? So this is the one guarantees that the result of committed transaction persists in the database permanently. Even if the system crashes or something like that, the data, it should get stored permanently in your database. That is what called as durability. So hope you understood ACID properties, but you don't have to know all these things, but if you know, it is better. Okay, so what is, because we are going to discuss about something called the transaction control. Now we will take a look at something called transaction control. So we have something called begin transaction, and we have something called end transaction, and next one is we have something called rollback, and we have something else called save point, and we have something called release save point, and set transaction, something like that. Okay, so what we will do is let us start with a simple one, begin transaction. And all these things are comments. Okay, so the transaction control, we use these kind of statements. Okay, begin transaction. Here what I am going to do is, let's take our same example. Employee table. Let's start with a simple example. Look here, we have employees are there. So these are the data we have it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to update the salary of a specific employee. How do you update? Let's say I want to make a salary change to Smith. I want to increase his salary. How can I do that? Update statement. I want to modify the existing data. That is when we are going to use update statement. Remember this. In update statement, we are modifying the existing data. So update, followed by this, the table name, right? So table name is the employee table, and then we have command called set, and here you have something like salary is equivalent to, instead of 800, I'm going to say 1800. Where If I don't give where, what will happen? All the employees' salary will get changed as where EMP number 7369. Okay. So now what I do is I use something called rollback transaction. So I'm going to execute this one. For example, I'm going to select up to this one only. Listen very carefully. I'm going to execute it. So one row affected. Okay, that means something has happened. Okay, now what I do is for you people to understand what is happened, right? So here I'm going to say select star from EMP. Star is not required. Okay, anyhow, what happened? 1800 got updated for Smith. Earlier his salary was 800. Now we modified Smith's salary by 1800. So how did I? For that I used update statement. So I just use the select query to make sure that whether Smith's salary got updated as 1800. Yes. Now what I do is I'm going to execute rollback transaction. Command section. Now what I do is I will select this query one more time. I'll execute this query now. What will happen is whatever the change I made it will be undone. It will be undone, which means it will remove the change whatever you made it, right? So it has given me the previous value before modifying that whatever value is right. That is the one it gives me. Rollback. Whatever the but when you executed it, this value supposed to get executed got modified the salary for Smith successfully. But when I use the rollback, whatever the change I made it, for that change it did the, so it was it undone. It was the change was undone, right? So now the question is why rollback is important. Supposing you are giving some mistakenly you have given some value, right? So and then you realize, oh, after querying the table, oh man, I mistakenly given 1800 wrong. I wanted to. It is something like control is that. You just think control is that. When you do something right, mistakenly you make some changes to a Word document or PowerPoint. Later point in time, you want to get back to the previous one. Control is it, right? Something like a rollback. Fine. So rollback, it rollbacks to the previous value. So you are safe now. Now you say, hey, okay, no, I made change, but later I realized it was not the change. Okay, we want to give the increment, but not now. My manager said, so this one has to be given next month, not now. So immediately I go and execute this one. Now 800. So next I'll take another scenario for commit transaction. So here, let's say instead of using rollback, I'm going to use commit transaction now. Yes, his salary got changed now because I used update. When I use commit, what happens is, okay, you need to use begin transaction. Whenever you use commit, right here, yeah, I did not use the. Now if I execute this one, what happens? The change is made permanently. To make changes permanently, use commit. Okay, commit transaction. So if I do rollback now, will it work? It will not work. After you made the changes permanently, it will not work. So for example, if I execute rollback now, no corresponding. Okay, let me do one thing. I just execute one more time. Requires no corresponding begin transaction, right? So if I use, okay, See, even the commit transaction should have a corresponding begin transaction. Even for rollback, there should be a corresponding begin transaction. Okay. So if I give like this, nothing will, because in this block nothing is there, right? So nothing to do the rollback. Or in simple term, right? After you commit the changes, after you make the changes permanently to the database table, and even if you give rollback, it will not work. It will not work, right? So it will simply show the same value only. But when before you give commit, and if you give rollback, it will roll back it to the previous value 800. Okay, but once you give commit transaction, it will be made permanent. The changes will be made permanent. Look here, 1000. After which, if you try to do rollback, it will not work. Now what I am going to do is I am going to show how to use try catch. We have something called try catch, using which we can do error handling. So begin try. I say begin try. The try catch is very common in almost all the including Java. Okay, in all the programming languages it is common. It is not new one to this one. Okay, so update. I'm going to say update employee and let me just go and copy paste the one same thing here. And then next what I am going to do is I am going to say end try. Next I am going to say begin catch. Okay, and next one is end catch. Here what we are doing is, so whenever you start with the try, end with try, so this is a reserved word. Okay, begin try, end try, and this is also a reserved word, begin catch, end catch. Okay, so what I am trying to do here is, in this block I am going to begin the transaction. So here 1800, make the change the salary to 1800 for the employee 7369, and for 7370 you divide this salary by 0. Okay, and then do commit transaction. Anything divided by 0, what? Anything divided by 0 is what? This is mathematics. How many of you remember it? Anything divided by 0 is what? 0 divided by anything is 0, right? Anything divided by 0 is infinity. This one will fail. When something fails, how do we handle that error, right? So that is where, so you remember, okay, you are not part of Power BI. Okay, so yeah, Power BI, I explained this one. Anyhow, you don't worry. In Power BI also, we are going to discuss about the same scenarios. Okay, don't worry. So here, in this case, obviously it is an error, right? This transaction will fail. So what will happen is, the error will be, it will throw an error. In this case, that error will be caught here, and then it will print a transaction rolled back. Let us see what happens when I execute this. Let's see what happens. 1 row affected, 0 row, transaction rolled back, right? So transaction rolled back. Let us do one thing now. So I'm going to say select star from EMP. 7369 is salary got updated 1800, and 7370, right? 7370, since we mentioned 1800 was 0, it got failed, right? The look here, if you see the message, yeah, that message is gone, right? Okay, I'll just execute it one more time. So let's say, for you to understand, I'll just put 2800. So one row affected, 0 transaction rolled back. So here this row got affected, okay, but the second row, it has thrown an error, because anything divided by 0 is infinity. It has thrown error, and the error was caught by the catch block. So look here, transaction rolled back, right? So now when I query this table, what happens? This one got this change got made, even this change, right, was not made permanent. One second, let me just select star from M. When I give this, look here, even for 7369, right, it was showing one row affected, both the transaction got failed, right? Since of these two transactions, any one of them fails, the entire transaction get failed. So everything is considered single transaction, all these things, right? These two commands got considered as a single transaction, because you are giving more, whenever you give more than one transaction as part of your begin transaction or commit transaction, right, between this, right, it will be considered single transaction. It's kind of a batch. If any one of them fails, you fail everything. That is what is. Look here, Smith's salary was not changed to 2800, and even 7370, his salary was not changed because it was thrown error. So how do we handle there? This is how. Now the question is, why do I need to use begin, try and catch? So in case of any error comes, the job will fail, right? So in that case, what we need to do is, we want the job to still continue, right? So in that case, what will, even if this fails, you print the message transaction rollback, followed by this, if I have another begin try similar to this, right, I want in a department table, I want to make some update in the following, that job will not, that transaction will not fail. So even if this transaction fails, the subsequent transaction will not fail. See, in the real-time scenario, per day, thousands of jobs are running. Okay, if just because one job fails, if all the other job fails, what will happen? All the 1000 jobs will not get loaded. Hence, in Power BI, you cannot see the data reports. You cannot see the visuals, right, populated with data. So that is the reason why what we do is, we handle the error using try and catch. So now you understood what is ACID property, and what is a commit transaction and rollback transaction, and what is try and catch, how do we handle the error using, right? So that we have learned it. Next we will take a look at the another example. We'll use a simple stored procedure. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to this database, instead of using employee all the time. So I'm going to Adventure Works database. I'm going to select this database. I just execute it, and the next one is, currently I am into this database now. So in this database, let us see what tables are there. So we have something called product table is there, and product table is there. What columns are there? Just click on it and click on columns. You can see all the columns here, and we can see the product ID, all the things are there, right? So product category ID is there. Okay, so all these things are there. Now what I am going to do is, I am going to create a procedure. So first of all, what is a stored procedure, right? So the database object that encapsulate the transact SQL code is called a stored procedure. The storage procedure can be parameterized. You can give the input parameter, you can specify the output parameter also. Okay, you can give the input parameter, you can specify the output parameter also. So for example, now how do I define the stored procedure? Create procedure, and what I am going to do is So I think your video is on. Who has, yeah, don't, if you think your, let me just, ask to stop video. Okay. Create procedure. I just say something like, so we are into this one, right? Sales database, sales LT. I have created something like this. Let's, get products by category, something like that. At category ID int equal to, don't worry, I'll explain everything, okay? Or, simply, I would say we will use simple before we get in here, right? I'll just show you one simple stored procedure, okay? And for example, right, select, instead of getting into the complex one, we'll start with the simple one. EMP number, comma, salary from EMP, group by depart number, something like that, depart number. So here use sales. This is the database. I have the employee table. I think I did not execute this, and first you need to, typing is not sufficient, you need to execute it, okay? And the next one is this one, select EMP number, is not EMP number, okay, select star from EMP, is this available or not? Yeah, so EMP NO, right? EMP NO is correct only, comma, sal from EMP and group by, I'll type it everything. Invalid column name EMPNO. So okay, okay, group by is something wrong here. Depart, see, group by, here I did not specify depart number, right? EMP number, or let me do one thing. The group by, whatever you specify, right, that column should be there here, depart number. So here depart number is there, right, in group by, the same thing should be there here, okay? Along with that you can specify some numeric value, but here we can say sum of salary. Whenever you use group by, you need to use aggregation. That's what I discussed, I explained you. And if I execute this one, this is the one. Now what I am going to do is, I am going to say something like create procedure, something like depart sal, something like that, okay? So as this is the reserved word, the create procedure, this is mandatory, you need to give this name if you want to create a stored procedure, okay? As begin, and whenever you use begin, you need to use the end, right? That's all. So I have created a stored procedure, create procedure name as begin, select star from EMP. So here you need to specify the semicolon. No, not this one, sorry. I want to use this one, right? The same query, I just put it inside this one. So here I'm going to create this one, the cross here. Commands completed successfully. Procedure got created successfully. So now what I am going to do is, how do I execute this procedure? So we have something called execute sp and execute sp underscore name. Sorry. Execute sp underscore name. Here you need to specify the depart cell. Could not find stored procedure sp name. So this is wrong here, right? This is not, this is a syntax. Sp name is the syntax. You need to specify your stored procedure name. Sorry, here depart cell. So my stored procedure name is depart, right? Depart cell, not something else. Very simple one. So this is how we can create. So now the question is, sir, can I execute it individually? Why should I use stored procedure inside the stored procedure? Stored procedure is, why we use stored procedure is reusability purpose. Once you write the stored procedure, you can use it for reusability. You can use it for reusability. Okay. For you, once you create like a stored procedure, function. If you create a function, you can use it as many times as you want it, right? For that purpose, we can use it. I will just for you people to understand this one, I just use this simple thing. What I am going to, okay, this is what stored procedure. First, let's go step by step. Okay, before we dive in there, right? So why we use procedure? It's for reusability. Okay. So now, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some parameter now. So I'm going to use the same. What I'm going to do is, now the question is, how do I drop a stored procedure? Drop procedure departs. Let's say I don't want this procedure. I just want to repeat it. Usually we don't drop it. Anyhow, to understand, right? So now if you execute this, it will throw an error. There is no procedure. Could not find stored because we dropped it. So this is how you can drop it. How do we modify? You can modify that also. So what I am going to do is, here I have created a stored procedure without any parameter. So now I am going to create it with a parameter at let's sal1. That's or let's at depart number 1 is int. Initially I specify null here. From here I'm going to say where depart number is equivalent to at depart number 1. Group by depart number. Okay, so I just go and create this. Fine. So the next one is, how do I execute this one? So now I will have to specify value for this department cell, and followed by which department I want to see. For example, depart number 10. Look here, for department number 10, the total salary what we are giving is 7,450. To answer to Madhavi's question is, okay sir, creating stored procedure, everything is fine. So what is the use of that one? Now Shweta says, right, for example, Madhavi has created this stored procedure, and she tells Shweta, hey Shweta, you don't know programming, hence I already created a stored procedure. So all you need to do is, you type this command execute, followed by this you need to specify my stored procedure name, and followed by this whichever department you want to see the total sales, right, you can give it here. All she has to do is only these two things she should remember. These two things given by Madhavi, this value has to be specified by Shweta. See, simply type it all these things, because Madhavi told, hey, type execute, and followed by this you need to use depart cell, that is the stored procedure name. In this depart sale stored procedure, here you mentioned 10 because you are interested in saying the total salary. You give it in the for the department 10, right? In the department 10, in total we are giving 7,450 salary. You are interested in for example, now Shweta wants to see what is the total salary given in department number 20. All she has to do is just change this value 10, 20, 30. That's all. We have in the data set we have 10, 20, 30, right? In the department number 20, in total we are giving 10,770. Shweta, it makes your life easier, right? You don't have to know the group by, where condition, select, nothing. Simply you need to pass this value. Okay, when I execute this storage procedure like this, what will happen? What is happening? So here, the value 20 she mentioned, Shweta, this 20 will get copied to this variable. Okay, initially it is null. Now the null will be replaced by 20. The 20 will get copied here. That 20 will get copied here. So where the depart number, where depart number equal to 20, tell me what is the total salary. So that is what it shows. You understood? Hope with this simple example you are able to understand. I thought of using some adventure database, all the things, right? So with this, I hope you are able to understand very clearly. Okay, now what I would suggest you all is, okay, thanks Madhavi. Now Madhavi is able to understand. How about Aruna, and who else is there? Radha and Deepak. Are you guys, because this is very important, remember one thing very clearly, not all the customers are using Power BI only. They are not using Excel data. There are customers they are using, especially those customers they use Power BI, they are using SQL Server only. Right? Most of the customers they use SQL Server because SQL Server is also Microsoft product. Power BI is also Microsoft product, and also they create all the data warehouse, everything in SQL Server. There are customers they use other RDBMS software like Oracle, MySQL. There are other customers they use something else, right? Azure SQL database. But end of the day, stored procedure is common in almost all the RDBMS. Remember this. This is the principle. But the reason why they use SQL Server, most of the customers, it's a Microsoft product. They are very particular about, already we purchased Power BI from Microsoft. And if you buy more than one product from the same vendor, you will get more benefit, like a discount, a lot of things are there. That is also the reason why they buy it. Other reason is, and if you do, what do you mean by SQL correct? I did not understand your question, Madhavi. In my org also using SQL Server, okay. Even in Madhavi's company, they are using SQL Server, okay. And other reason is Power BI. So in other reason is data warehouse. Most of the companies already they have data warehouse. They created in a SQL Server or some other RDBMS system. But since the Power BI is Microsoft product, and those people already using SQL Server from Microsoft, they are all using Power BI. Other advantages, whatever the query database related, when you try to read a table, or if you want to perform some kind of the group by or something like that from Power BI, the Power BI, it generates the query behind the scene automatically, and that query is sent to the SQL Server itself. If you do anything in the source system itself, because if a source system is SQL Server, and if you do the process in the SQL Server itself, the performance will be faster. Anything native, it will be faster. For example, we have something called Hadoop software, right? Hadoop software is majority of the thing they've written it in Java programming language. If you write any programming in Java and if you run it against your Hadoop software, the performance will be faster. That doesn't mean for Hadoop software, to learn Hadoop, you are supposed to learn Java. It is not that. But if you, it's something like, right? Let's say you are a Telugu speaking person. When I talk to you in Telugu, right? If I explain you everything in Telugu, you will be able to pick up quickly. If I don't know Telugu and if I know only, if I talk only in English, and if you don't know English, or if I don't know Telugu, right, it will take longer time to understand, right? It's anything native to the software, right? Java is native to Hadoop, and similarly it's kind of a native, right? So the Power BI, in the Power BI, if you are using SQL Server tables, and if the Power BI, what Power BI does, it generates the query and then it push it back to the SQL server. Hey, this is your piece of work, you need to give me the output. Okay, and also stored procedure, right? So complex logic we will write. So you can write multiple queries here, right? Not only then select more than one query. You can package multiple queries, or you can use insert statement, delete statement. All these things you can package in a single stored procedure. And you can specify the argument, or you can include more than one argument also, right? These are called argument. For Shweta's sake, I'll repeat it once again. See, this is the reserved word, create procedure, using which we can create the stored procedure. So this one, you can give whatever name, right? You can give it, right? You can give it here. Department salaries, I have given this name. It can be anything. But in your company, whatever the name they suggest, you need to use that one. Blindly you cannot, just because I told you to use whatever name, blindly you cannot use it. Okay, you can use some meaningful name, but this is the reserved word. Okay, and followed by this, you can see the open parenthesis and closed parenthesis. This curve, right? This is called open parenthesis. This is called open parenthesis. This is called your closed parenthesis. Inside this parenthesis, this first argument, right? This is called your argument or parameter. You remember I explained about parameter, right? So you just think, this parameter or argument, and followed by this parameter, you know how to define a parameter. Parameter should be prefixed with @ symbol, and followed by the parameter name, you need to specify the data type, and you need to initialize that. You need to give some value. But in this case, I have given the default value as null here. You understood? So now the question is, why the hell should I specify the parameter inside the parenthesis? Right? So the reason is, look here, it makes your life very simple, right? Shweta, since let's this procedure was created by Madhavi, and she already specified the parameter also. What is simply specify this one. Give the procedure name. What is procedure name? Depart cell. Okay, and this is what, right? The depart cell is specified it. The execute is the command you should be knowing. That's all. Execute this stored procedure, and you type 20. That's all. You don't have to know the. Let's say in this, see, there are some projects in the stored procedure. If you see, right, 1,000 lines will be there. Select statement, insert statement. The select itself, multiple table they will be joining. Okay, so many things will be there, right? So in your case, since she already mentioned the parameter here, it made your life very simple. Simply you say 20 will get copied here, that 20 will get passed here. So from here to here, the query, the 20, right? The 20 will be copied here, that 20 will get copied here again. So select star from emp where depart number equal to 20. Goodbye. Since you use the parameter here, you can give whatever value you wanted. So you can give, so right, this parameter makes, with this parameter, you can pass the value dynamically. Madhavi, you asked, right? So what do you mean by hard code? Instead of saying add depart number, this variable name here, if I specify 20, what will happen, Shweta? All the time you will get only the department 20 related total salary. If you wanted to see, different department based on your need, right? You can type anything, depart number 20, 30. You should be given the liberty to type whatever the department number you want it, right? You can type it here. If you specify the parameter here, parameter enables you to pass the value dynamically. If you hard code the value 20 here, instead of this, if you specify 20, what will happen? That is static. That is called static. Again, you need to open the stored procedure. You need to go and type 10. If you want to see different department salary, right, you need to open the code and you need to modify it here. You don't have to modify the code. You don't have to open the code. simply specify whatever value you needed. This one will get copied here, so this value will get copied here, and this value will get passed here, and then it will get filtered, and it will give you whichever department total cell you want, right? Salary you wanted, you can see it here. Hope you understood what is stored procedure and what is the advantage of stored procedure and what is the advantage of using parameter. All these three concepts you understood in one single stored procedure itself, right? Madhavi was able to understand. How about Aruna and others? Shweta is still in dilemma. Shweta, what I will do is I will share this script to you. Forget about everything. This is very much important. The stored procedure, you just practice this simple script, okay? But please make sure that you are practicing it on a daily basis. 1 hour at least, okay? You believe me or not, guys, when I shown you the execution plan, the cost was very high for the correlated subquery, whereas the non-correlated subquery, the cost was very less. The interview can tell them, I just took the query, whatever we use it, and we just check the the cost. Look here, two queries we are comparing it, right? So two queries I compared it in the last session, non-correlated and correlated. For the non-correlated, the cost was less. For the correlated, the cost was very high. You can, if you are a smart query itself, within the single query itself, there are multiple, when I execute this query, behind the scene multiple things are happening, right? So it uses the index scan, and then it sorts the data. Look here, the index scan is, the cost for this is just 22 only, whereas the sorting only took hell lot of time, right? So let me do one thing here, order by, I'll write another query. So you need to rewrite the query. See, there are certain things you cannot buy it in the world, right? So order by depart number. I'm not praising myself, okay? So these things nobody knows. So both of them produce the same output. I'm going to say Control L, and here also the same thing, and here also the same. Behind the scene, whether I'm using order by or not. Sorry, I just select these two things, Control L, and if you move this up, you can compare. Both of them are doing the same thing. I don't see any improvement here. So rather what we can do is, so if they sort this column, right, in the depart number column, right, if they can create some index or something like that, the performance will be faster. The index is happening on the, okay, primary key depart number only, right? Depart number, probably you can create some index, right? So when you create the index, right, the sorting will be much faster. Let me just check create index. I don't remember the syntax. Create index depart in number. Let me just check the syntax here. See, this is very common in all the databases. In Oracle and all in the past, right, we did extensive tuning. We reduced the query time, almost, we improve the query by 70% and all. Create index in SQL Server. See, syntax, everything you can see it, but in the net, but these kind of suggestions, or this is what is more important. On, yeah, create index on, create index relation ID x1 on which table, the depart the, what is this table, UMP table, column 1 is depart number. I'm going to create it now. So I'm going to press F5. So it got created. Now let us see what is happening now. After creating index, can you see any? So now what happens? The cost is, look here, now what happened? So index scan, it is doing index scan, the cost got reduced, right? 58.42. It is reasonably reduced it, but still you can reduce the cost, right? 58.42. Earlier it was showing something else, right? So it was showing how much. How many of you remember that? The previous cost. The cost is very important. right? The cost is very important in general. Okay, I'm not saying cost is the only factor, you need to check, but the first and foremost, we go and execute our query and we just check the cost. And for certain process the index got dropped, right? For a specific column, index got dropped. So what we did, instead of killing the stored procedure, right, we killed the stored procedure and we created the index and recreated and then we reran the stored procedure. The performance was faster. You understood, right? See, first step is somehow the index got dropped. You need to say like this: somehow the index got dropped. We kill the long running stored procedure with the help of who? DBA. With the help of DBA. Right? And the next one is recreated the index. And and cross verified the execution plan. What you are saying down below, right? Execution plan. Now the cost got drastically reduced, and then we reran our stored procedure. So most of the managers, even they don't know what is execution plan. Okay, but don't underestimate. Okay, but most of them, they do not know. Okay, so this is the thing, right? After creating the index, the performance was a bit faster, but especially when you work on the huge data. So in this one, right, LT everything, so what you do is you need to install this one database. Okay, go and download this one, like how you download it from Microsoft site, and install it. This has less number of table, but more data, reasonably good data is there. And then start practice everything whatever I upload in the GitHub. All right, so this is how you need to answer it smartly. Okay, you can tell them, and you can also specify the same example. What it is, they use some correlated query, and then after I joined the project, I recommended that use the subquery, and after introducing the subquery, the performance was phenomenal. We could see a drastic improvement in the query, because in the case of correlated subquery, for every single row in the outer query, the subquery will get executed. Okay, so for each row of my outer query, the subquery get executed. Whereas in the case of non-correlated subquery, the subquery gets executed only once. In the case of Kailash subquery. Okay, so that's how we are. My contribution helped the productivity or change the image of my project. Okay, good. These are my achievements. You can say that these are my achievements, instead of saying, right, yeah, what is what. Okay, how do you create a stored procedure? What is the advantage stored procedure? Can you modify the stored procedure? Can you drop a stored procedure? So can you tell me what is your accomplishments? So what is what. Like you, I can hire hundreds of people, right? Even he knows the syntax, everything. And what is so big, what value you can bring it to that? What kind of accomplishments? I reduced the query, I improved the query's performance. Quote some scenarios, whatever I given, right? That's it. Good night. In case of any questions, you can ask me. If you get stuck up, you please ping me. Okay. All right. Good night. Take care. See you this Saturday night.